Welcome to Cosmic Channels, summer session number 4. I think we're in, probably about a month and a bit away from season 9 kickoff. We'll start releasing podcast episodes again. So if you got a story, you got a story, you see Bigfoot, some people have been messaging me saying, "Oh, I want to call in. I got stuff to talk about." Now's your chance. 1-833-703-0424. Lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. Also big news. Listen, you want to support Cosmic Channels? You want some Cosmic Channel stickers? And I mean, these things are magnificent. I need the sunglasses. I see my beat red eyes from being in the sun too much today. Let me see here if I can get the... How do I open this? I'm going to show you guys the stickers. I think I can bring them up. They are awesome. You can, if you want stickers, reasonably priced. Good friend of the show, Silver Lotus. What is going on here? I don't know what is happening here. Interesting. Everything is crashing on my end here, but I can still pull it up here. This is Cryptid Designs Co. Look at this here, showing it off. I think I can do, if I do this. Boom. Look at these. Bunch of different cosmic designs. Look at these things. They are awesome. You got all stars and stuff in the background. They are phenomenal. There we go. Right like that. So if you want to get on there and order some Cosmic Channel stickers, we got Fuck You Call Us. We got this one. This one's awesome. And then we've got the old Yodo. You only die once. Are saying here. Maybe we'll get some more stickers we'll partner up with Cryptid Designs Co. But right now, just Cosmic Channels, a Maester Daniel one. If you want to vote for Maester, go check them out. They're right in the show description. If you're watching on YouTube or whatever, you just copy paste that link. Go check them out. So check that out. Lines are 1-833-703-0424. We got a couple stories though. The thing with the ATT sticker, I gotta talk to everyone. That's I don't have the approving authority to just okay. These guys don't trust me with nothing. Let's look at a story here. I got a couple new stories. What is everything? You know what must have happened is Edge is updated. I'm like, I don't know how it works anymore. Like, where is everything? All right, we got some submissions here to Cosmic Channel. Let's read a story. Lines are open though. 1-833-703-0424. Stories, submissions. Let's read this one. The Ghost of John Lennon. That's kind of cool. This is from, can I say? Skeezy. I think that's the name he wants to use. Skeezy. Look at this absolute monster story. The Ghost of John Lennon. I used to have a gig where I would assist in a traveling John Lennon art show. In my opinion, John's art was pretty lousy. I can't really describe it. You'll have to check it out for yourself. Nevertheless, it was a fascinating gig that paid pretty well, and may have led to my encounter with the ghost of John Lennon. My job was to drive a box truck full of art from Florida to various cities where we would transform vacant buildings in upscale locations into an exhibition for the weekend. In addition to driving the art from the gallery in Florida, I would set up walls, hang art, do lighting, and act as a personal assistant to the sellers and owners during the show. My employers had been doing this for years, and these were pretty classy shows in places like Cape Cod, Princeton, Manhattan. It wasn't uncommon for the company to spend $100,000 in advance of a show on rental space, advertising, and crew expenses. Woo! Like I said, it was a pretty fun gig. My bosses were 420 friendly, and I love a good road trip, especially on weed. So I took it up on the road, enjoying new scenery and even taking detours if scheduling allowed. On the trip to Manhattan, I did just that. I decided to chart a slightly longer course through the mountains as to avoid the I-95 bullshit. It was a decision, began a course of events that would alter my life. I was driving through the farmlands of western Maryland when I noticed a flashing blue lights behind me. I'd been through checkpoints before and I wasn't high at the time, so I played it cool. The officer informed me that he was performing a random inspection of my truck. You see, all commercial vehicles, even those not requiring a CDL, are required to have a list of safety shit and can be pulled over and inspected randomly. It didn't take long before the officer informed me that he could see a pack of beer and was going to have to search the vehicle. I told him that I hadn't had anything to drink. It was just leftovers from the night before in the hotel. Didn't matter. Alcoholic beverages are not allowed in the cab of commercial vehicles. That's when the second officer arrived. Now's a good time to mention that I am a licensed concealed carry gun owner in the state of Florida, and along with my toothpaste, I had my .38 special revolver in my backpack. I was planning on doing some hiking in rural Virginia. I also didn't own a gun safe back home and had roommates, so I brought the gun on the trip, assuming it would be even safer than leaving it at home where it might be stolen, and assumed it would be a non-issue. It became an issue almost immediately. For anyone who doesn't know, gun laws vary in different states, and as it turns out, Maryland doesn't like guns. They also found my weed. I immediately informed them of both when they asked the standard, "Are there any drugs or weapons in the vehicle?" question. In retrospect, I now realize that the ghost of John Lennon told that officer to pull me over. You see, I was driving his artwork to his city and final resting place, and the ultimate sin was in bringing the exact gun that was used by Mark David Chapman to kill John Lennon. More specifically, a black .38 special snub-nose revolver containing 5 hollow point bullets. To my defense, I was not that familiar with John Lennon, much less the details of his murder. I certainly did not know anything about his murder weapon at the time. Anyways, I had just been arrested for possession of marijuana, alcohol, gun charges, and not having my goddamn safety flares. I was in jail, and I had no idea for how long. Meanwhile, the company truck with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of shitty line drawings was on the side of the highway. 6 people, including my boss, had already flown into NYC from all over the country to run the show. The short-term lease of a 4-story building in one of the most expensive locations in New York City had already been signed. The biggest, most expensive John Lennon art show of the year and possibly all time was in jeopardy, and it was all my fault. It was Friday evening, about 6 p.m. I was in a cold cell, sweating bullets, completely stressed out by the fact that I just cost my employers a shit ton of money and reputation, and I was facing a legal shitstorm. I was supposed to have an initial hearing with a constable, but surely they had all gone home for the weekend. I had no idea of my fate, and the uncertainty was crushing me with anxiety. Then I heard my name. It was almost 7 p.m., and a guard informed me that I was meeting with the constable. Why was he still here? Didn't matter. He read my charges and asked about the gun, etc. After approximately 5 minutes of strangely unpleasant form of confession. He told me that he was releasing me on an unsecured bond. What exactly does that mean? I asked, assuming the worst. And he said, it means you're free to go tonight. And if you don't show up for your trial, you owe the state of Maryland $5,000. Holy shit, I was free to go tonight. I just might make it to the show after all. I couldn't believe it. I didn't have to call a bail bondsman. In fact, I hadn't made any calls since booking, and here they are processing me back out. It turns out, through a stroke of luck, aka John Lennon's ghost, the arresting officer took pity on me. They gave me the option to have the truck impounded or left on the side of the highway. I chose the latter because the company could eventually fly someone and retrieve it over the weekend. Furthermore, I got to ride shotgun on the way to jail, and he even gave me directions back to the truck if I got released that night. Initially, I thought he was joking, but there I was being released at about 8:30 p.m. And I knew it was only about 4 miles back to the truck, and I took off in my flip-flops and started jogging. As I jogged in the dark along the cold frontage road back to the truck, I began to cry. I had just been on an emotional roller coaster. Why was the judge working late Friday? Why was I being released the same day with drugs and weapons charges? Why didn't they automatically impound the truck? Why did the officer who arrested me show me how to get back to the truck? And why did he intentionally decline to post a 24-hour mandatory off-the-road order for the truck's license plate? I believe this was the ghost of John Lennon. A few minutes later, I saw the outline of an unmarked box truck on the side of the highway. I had made it. Hallelujah. Sure, I had to wade through hundreds of yards of waist-high grass, eventually slipping and sliding on hundreds of locusts that were squishing between my bare feet and my sandals. And sure, there was 12 inches of barbed wire on top of a chain-link fence separating the highway from the frontage road. I didn't give a single shit. I was free. I drove the rest of the night without sleeping, stopping only for gas and coffee, and I just barely made it to the show on time. Nobody in the rest of the crew knew what happened, and the show went off without a hitch. I felt like shit all weekend. I didn't go sightseeing and was especially irritable that gig, but at least I wasn't responsible for ruining the biggest John Lennon art show of 2012. One question that still haunts me to this day is, if I hadn't taken that detour, instead gone straight up the I-95, would I not have been arrested? Or would I have been arrested in Baltimore, Maryland arrested in Baltimore, Maryland on drug and weapons charges? Everyone from the cops to my lawyer said I would have been fucked. Turns out Baltimore has some of the harshest minimum penalties for guns and drugs in the country, and their prison system is pretty tough, especially for a 160-pound, red-haired, middle-class man-child like myself. I will never know for sure, but one could argue that the ghost of John Lennon was watching over his art, as well as the person transporting it, and didn't want that gun anywhere near the place where he was shot and killed by one just like it. Yet he wanted his show to go on, which is why he made sure that I still made it to New York City on time for one of the most profitable John Lennon art shows ever. My boss still doesn't know what happened. Fast forward a few months from then, I eventually had to go back to Maryland from Florida for my official court date. This would be the sentencing hearing, where I would be sentenced to fines, prison time, or perhaps, worst of all, community service. In the meantime, I was living in Florida, free on bond, meaning that if I didn't go back to the court hearing in Maryland, I would have a warrant issued and owe the state $5,000 on top of my sentence. It sucked living life and going to work every day knowing I had to eventually fly back and was likely facing jail time in another state. I'd surely lose my job, and I also wondered constantly if life in prison was really as bad as I've heard, and what types of karate combos I could use to block my butthole. During this period, my mailbox was flooded with postcards from lawyers. I called a few and eventually settled on one that I could afford. At first, I was signed to a junior lawyer from the firm who was a complete piece of shit. But thanks to the ghost of John Lennon, She was fired before my case, and the head lawyer took over without increasing the fee, which was only $1,000. This is important because he turned out to be a longtime friend of the prosecutor on my case. Not only is this not normal, but it's actually illegal to some extent. When the big moment came, I walked into the courthouse a free man. I dressed up out of respect, but with the irony of knowing full well I may be wearing orange for a while. The whole thing took about 30 minutes and was just as much of a roller coaster as the night when I was arrested. The judge literally mentioned in front of everyone that he wouldn't allow the fact that he was a big fan of John Lennon to influence his decision. He then sentenced me to 1 year jail time. I gasped for the first time in my life. Oh, fuck. I thought as my knees went weak, my lawyer grabbed my elbow and whispered for me to shut the fuck up. The judge wrapped things up, and I don't know what else he said because I just went numb. When it was finished, my lawyer led me out of the side room where he gave me the best news of my life. Turns out that 1 year sentence was suspended as long as I paid my fines on time. That's it. If I paid my fines by a certain date, I wouldn't have to go to jail and fight for my butthole's honor. I was free to go again. All thanks to the ghost of John Lennon. But that's not all. Fast forward 4 years, I get a call. It's a detective from Maryland who wants to know if I wanted my gun back. Turns out the judge overruled the prosecutor and ordered the gun to be released back to my custody. Why? I have no idea. It only took 4 years, but now I have my trusty, rusty revolver back. The whole fiasco eventually cost me $2,000. I'm super lucky, but I lost a shit ton of hair. That's the story of the ghost of John Lennon. Oh my God. That's a phenomenal story. I'm glad. Pretty cool you get to drive around with the art, even though you're saying it's not that great. It's interesting, you know. Does a ghost have that kind of pull in Maryland? I'm not sure. But it is kind of a, you know, I guess it makes you wonder, like, you know, there was a fork in the road and you literally went the other way, and would things been different or worse off? Kind of interesting story. Thank you so much, Skeezy, for sending that in. Appreciate it. Lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. Still looking for that first call of the night. We want to know if it's working. You know, you got a story? You got a conspiracy theory you want to talk about? You got a theory you want to pitch or you want to discuss? 1-833-703-0424. I also got this cool antique X-Files desk lamp free on the side of the road the other day. Someone had a little free sign beside it. I thought haunted for sure. That was my first thought, but so far so good. It's gonna go in the new studio when that's built. That one's red. Move to red. What's this one? All right. Well, hey, listen. What's my thoughts on monkeypox? I have no idea. I actually just heard about monkeypox just recently, like very, very recently, like yesterday probably. And I'm like, is it a big deal? I don't know. Does my brain instantly go to conspiracy driven? I've been like, they just want to transfer more wealth. Yeah, I have no idea. It's interesting. I have literally, I know nothing about monkeypox at all. I just heard that it's a thing now, and apparently it's bad, and lots of people are getting it. It's airborne or something somewhere in the world. That's how little I know. I don't know if it's bad. I'm not sure. I have no idea. Like I said, I literally know nothing about it. I just heard about it. But if you want to call and inform me about monkeypox, 1-833-703-0424. You can call me. Let me know. Fill me in. I have no idea. I have read 0 articles. I've read a couple headlines and I was like, not doing that. About the colors in do you or anyone know the conspiracy about the colors in toothpaste? No, what's that? What's the colors? The conspiracy Oh, low death rate? Who cares? I'll still pet a monkey. Seriously? On colors and toothpaste? Paste. Oh, is this the markings on the bottom of the toothpaste that indicate the ingredients or whatever? Is that what it is? I think so. There's 78 monkeypox. Just stop going to the zoo. That easy. Don't go see the monkeys. It's that easy. I'm pretty sure that's that easy to not get monkeypox. Don't go to the zoo. Don't pet the monkeys. Let's see here. Yeah, Brandon, it says just in time for the U.S. election is the conspiracy I'm seeing too. Yeah, that aspect of it is like has been popping up for me. But obviously, with what we do and what we talk about all the time, it's been like, oh yeah, look at this. Want to lock it down? Stop the election. I'm like, yeah, well, that's worldwide. It's not like it started in the States. So, but anyways, I'm closely watching it as closely from afar. 78 cases in Toronto. It's wild. How they're renaming all the fake colors they add to our foods. Yeah, I've been getting stuff about that, like all the dyes and red 48s or something. You see, it's weird when you have a kid and you start watching like kid stuff and kid programming, and the algorithm kind of figures out you got a kid, and then you like what conspiracies. It always gets you on these like there's certain food dyes that are really bad for kids, like behaviors and stuff, and it like messes them up. And there's like red dye 48 or all these other ones that I saw, and I was like, oh, interesting. But I haven't actually looked into it too much, but I see it pops up all the time, and I'm like, sometimes I've looked at a couple of foods on the back, like ingredients, and been like, is that red dye? Or, but then I don't see anything in there. It's just all stuff I can't pronounce and can barely read. Anyways, but I don't see any of the dye or whatever that is supposed to be bad. Red. I want to look more. I gotta look. That's 100% legit. Here we go. First call of the night. Calls high priority. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Bandito.
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing. So, well, obviously something I'm calling you. You talked about kids and stuff, and I just remembered when I was getting my nails done, something very weird happened on a kid's show, and I wanted to share because I was freaked out as an adult. And this is what they're telling kids. So, I was at the nail salon. There's this little, 4-year-old there, and she's watching her YouTube videos, and she was watching this dog cartoon. It was a dog cop, but it wasn't Paw Patrol. It was just a dog cop at a mall. He was like a mall cop. And they were talking about the safety of the spinning door, ooh, don't enter it, don't stop in it, all of these weird things.
Yeah.
About, kids and teaching them safety of the circle door.
Yeah, you can get your arm pinched out and shit. Like, it's terrifying. That and escalators.
Yeah,
escalators are like the death trap.
But that's okay. That's not the scary part. The scary part came right after that, where this little kid on the show, this little bear, whatever it was, got a phone call, video message from one of their, I'm going to use air quotes, friends, and they were video chatting, and they're like, hey, come meet me at the park. And the little friend was let's say a panda, and this one was like a koala, whatever. And the one's like, I'm going to go meet little panda at the park. And mom's like, okay, great. For one, why are you letting your little child go to the park by themselves? Okay.
It's not a chance.
Two, when they get to the park, they're like, little panda, where are you? And then out pops this big, adult wolf, adult fox, whatever. And it's still on video chat. He's like, no, I'm panda. And it was like teaching kids about
catfish.
Safety of AI video chats. I'm like, I never thought about that. That is fucking creepy.
You can
be whoever you want to be and lure kids now.
Well, and that's, I don't know if it's necessarily, I guess you can't. You could now too, 100%. But it's like the dangers of just, yeah. I never even thought about that in the sense of like child predators.
Now you have a new fear.
Yeah, of like, oh, now they can just video chat. Like, it's even worse though for like young kids and stuff. You could video call as like a cartoon character that they love now. That would be easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and then
you'd be like,
Dad, meet Goofy at the park.
Dad, Bluey keeps messaging me
really
to come outside after dark. That's terrifying. Yeah. It's like, why did Bluey, like, I never even thought about that. It's terrible. And the shitty thing is people are scum. There are just human scum out there that will 100% try stuff like that. I never even thought about that as a possibility. I was still thinking like I guess, I'm still thinking they're driving around in an old white van with free puppies and candy, right? And they've upped their game too.
Because you're old like me.
Yeah, they've upped their game. Like I thought you're telling me they don't just drive around town anymore looking for opportunities? They're searching them out online.
So can I tell you a real life story? And I don't have names and I don't have anything else. It's just what I was told, and it happened here in my little town.
Oh yeah, 100%. Those are my favorite stories.
So, it's about a 5th grader. So she's what, 9, 10, somewhere in that range, as a 5th grader. She downloaded Snapchat on her phone, which her parents didn't know about initially.
Yeah.
And she started getting snaps from these men threatening her. You need to send us no clothes pics, or we're going to come kill your family.
Mm-hmm.
We know where you live. This is the blueprints to your house. We know that you're in this room of your house. We know where your mom works. We know where you go to school. You need to send us these. And it was like 20 different people men that were contacting her doing this. And her parents found out that she had Snapchat, saw all this, obviously took it to the police, and now there's like this huge investigation. But that's another thing. You know what I mean? Fucking scary that if they don't realize, if a kid does that and doesn't realize what's going on and how to turn their location services off and how to turn their whatever on these stupid apps, they're just targeting and tracking these kids. And this girl she is now terrified of being home alone, going anywhere, because she thinks that all of her family and her friends are going to get murdered.
I mean, there is something like, you hear that kind of stuff, and sometimes it's grim. There's a famous case in British Columbia about her name was Amanda Todd, and hackers or people pretended to get her nude photos, and she was underage, and she killed herself. And then they found the 40-year-old in Sweden. They tracked him down and they arrested him, and he was charged with internet crimes for bullying this teenager. And I don't know what his sentence is, but it was terrible, just terrible story. But I've always kind of felt when you kind of think about Snapchat, it's a little bit nefarious, because you have a company run by adults targeting youth, underage youth. Let's be real, tons of us have Snapchat. We do send each other hilarious face photos or whatever with your close friends, but it's really targeted at youth, right? And it's it's an app where you take a photo and that photo deletes. What do you think?
But it doesn't.
It doesn't, right? And it's it's an easy way to hide stuff from the parents. And then it's and if they're not dealing, you got to think they have some sort of database of just unbelievable lewd pictures that would get anyone federal pen time. But it's just totally okay because they're just a corporation that targets kids. It's super a really weird app when you think about it, because it just targets kids. That's their target market is.
From what I understand, that I guess Snapchat they initially created it where everything would delete, but because of situations like this and others, they've built in a cloud, I guess, where everything does save. So law enforcement can go back and access that stuff. That's phone to phone.
It's super weird, because that's a super weird thing.
But you have to have special privileges, of course, obviously, to be able to get that. It's not just anybody.
Yeah, but then so what you're saying is this company targets youth as their primary market, right? Youths are sending naked pictures to each other, and Snapchat just holds on to these, and they probably have the world's largest collection of, CP. And what happens if they're ever hacked? You know what I mean? What's the ramification? Like, we know all these companies, usually their security and stuff is like just absolutely embarrassing. Like, all these big companies the United States just got hacked for 2.8 billion records. All your guys' social insurance numbers and social whatever numbers all just got exposed in some insane, like what could be the biggest information hack of all time. Like, what happens if Snapchat gets hacked and that all gets released onto the internet? Like, you know what I mean? Like, then was it a good thing to hang on to all that? Right? It's such a weird.
I don't know. It's like maybe they should build into the algorithm that if an AI spots or senses, that maybe it's a picture of a child, that it instantly notifies police in that local area or something. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Like I said, these are futuristic problems that I just don't think we just policy and everything is just lacking behind. We're just behind the 8 ball on all this stuff, and it's going to only get worse.
Yeah. Well, especially with the AI stuff, because again, they could put anybody's face on it, on whoever body that they want, and then, oh no, it's not that kid. That's just a tiny adult. But no, it's really not.
It is so insane that the program we use to record Alien Theorists Theorizing, just as a backup, they have a new AI feature that compiles basically every recording you've done with them. And we have hundreds and hundreds of hours. And you can write a script and choose who you want to read it. And it will generate my voice, my cadence, my some weird words I say perfectly, to the point where even I'm like, whoa, that's weird. Did I say that?
I say that?
It's so eerie to hear. And what happens if someone gets that, just hypothetically, and got access to that feature in that, and wrote a script of me saying something terrible and sent it to an employer? Like, what's the
or just making threatening phone calls to their ex, and it's you, so now you're making the threats to them,
right? Or calling my parents asking for money, what I mean? Or even worse, grandparents.
Yeah.
We're in a really kind of slippery slope, and I think about that all the time because I have so much public video and audio of myself that it's like, and you don't need that much to make it sound pretty good.
You need to start modulating your guys' voices. Start doing the robots,
pitching down, and doing something. It's gonna be crazy in the next couple of years. We're gonna look back and be like, holy, these were simpler times.
Yeah, I will say when it comes to the hacks, I work, most people I think know I work for the post office, and it's I am just this week, I swear to God, I've gotten at least 25 phone calls and 15 people a day walking in. Is this a real text from you guys? Did you guys really send this email? No. We don't have your phone number. We don't want your phone number. We know where you live, and that's good enough. We don't want anything else. We didn't send you something. We're not asking you for 10 cents. We're not asking you to verify. You're set yourself up for failure. Stop clicking on links, people.
We get every now and then through BC, for whatever reason, they do. We get scam calls all the time, and the scam calls, they're getting better at doing scam calls because they port their number through someone else's number. So you'll get a scam call from someone with the area code in your area now, and if you miss the call and call back, someone will pick up and be like, "Hello," and you're like, "Hey, you just called me." They're like, "No, I didn't." And they're masking the number.
Have you gotten a scam call from your own phone number?
No, not yet. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's potentially happening too.
But I always get it, and it's always it'll be the same racket for a while. They'll be like, "Oh, this is Air Canada, and we're offering you 1,000 air miles to sign up for this new card for $20 a month." And then you're like, I instantly know. I'm like, there's no. I'm like, because they just tried. They're like, you're like, I know. I was like, I don't have that. And they're like, oh. I'm like, so what do I do? They're like, well, you can just sign up for a new card. I'm like, is this a scam? And they usually hang up. But I toy with them so much that sometimes I get scam calls that I pick up the phone because I know they're scam. I love talking to scam calls. I love it. And sometimes I'll get a call and it's just someone going with an Indian accent going, fuck you. And they hang up the phone. It's like they flagged my number and they're like, screw this guy. I had one guy after like a 15-minute call screaming at me. He goes, you make fool of me. It's good times.
Yeah, I did actually.
Anyways, that's wild stuff. Bandito, thank you for the call. And make sure to send some pics when your stickers come in.
Okay, we'll do.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
Lines are on 1-833-703-0424. You wanna call? You getting scam calls? You want to tell your funny scam? This is summer session, so it's all good. We're just hanging out. If I try to get a couple calls, a couple stories to so when I start editing season 9 together, I have a couple kickoff episode stuff. But hey, 1-833-703-0424. If you want to call in, share a story you seen to ghost. Like I said, it's starting to get dark a little earlier now, but like I said, I think 7:30. And apologies last week. Stuck at work. By the time I got off, it was already like just after 7. Just one of those insane days. But hey, we're back. We're good. It's all good. That happens very rarely. Duct cleaning. You know what though? They could almost, if they started calling me with duct cleaning, whoever lived in my house before I bought it must have had tons of kids, and like my vents are just jam packed full of crayons and crushed goldfish crackers. And what do? I work for the CIA in Canada. Top secret. Can't tell you. We got another story here I read, but hey, lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. You want to call? You got a story? Interrupt me. Doesn't matter. Calls take priority. All good. This is from. I was getting shit on last time because I was showing everyone's email. I think this is. I think I can show this off. Let's see here. There we go. I don't think that's showing off anything. All right, good. Hi, guys. My name is Brian. I've been a fan for a long time. You're welcome to use my name if you decide to read my tale. So back in 2011, I was a new airman in the Air Force. I was stationed at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida as security forces. Eglin is one of the largest land-wise bases in the U.S. Most of the ranges are used for weapons testing or EOD training. I don't know what EOD training is. EOD? Something on deployment? Someone in the chat let me know. Now there was one night, myself and a few of my buddies were at their apartment off base, hanging out upstairs playing video games. My buddy Mats and I had stepped out off the balcony to have a cigarette. I had noticed that there were 3 strange lights off in the distance. Now it was pretty dark outside, but you could clearly see behind each object there was a long glowing trail. Our first thought was they were testing some kind of weapons off base, but we both knew it was way too late for that. We kind of just shrugged it off and put out our cigarettes and went back inside. This is where things started to get weird. I don't know why I said weird so weird. Weird. This is where things started to get weird. My buddy Mark was playing Call of Duty with his headset on, while me and Mets played on our phones. Now, as you know, when you have a headset on, you can't hear what is playing on the TV. So after a few minutes, Mark paused the game and he pulled his headset off his head, and something clearly said no through the TV. We all kind of looked at each other, super freaked out. We turned off the TV and we just sat around and talked. After a while, we could hear random voices and whispers coming from the back room. We looked and nothing. Just passed it off as neighbors through the wall. The last straw that night, I had passed out on the couch and woke up at 3 a.m. to someone running in the living room. Yet everyone was asleep. I asked them the next morning and they said they assumed it was me walking about. Needless to say, I never went back over there. I never did find out what those lights were either. Thanks for all you guys do. Sincerely, Brian. Well, that's creepy. I mean, you see some lights and then you have a paranormal experience. I'm curious if your friend who lives there experiences like phantom steps or phantom voices more regularly, or if this was just kind of a one-off thing. I'm curious if the lights and this experience were connected to each other. Interesting. I love getting stories like that, though. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for calling that in. I'll move that one over into the red category. Which one was it? This one? Right, yeah. Move to red. What's this one? See, I think I feel like I read this one, but we can read it again. Lines are open. 1-833-704 703-0424. 1-833-703-0424. I really got to put the number. I think I'm going to put the number right up top here. Just so everyone knows. Now, can I read this person's name? All right, I think I can read it quickly. Oh, someone says EOD is explosive ordnance disposal. Or end of day. I don't know. Touch the TVs. I don't know. I'm with you. I have no idea. Okay, let's read this one here. We got this one is from, can I say his name? Listen, if you're writing in a story, I love reading stories. I'm going to get through all the stories. Right at the top, let me know. Top line. You can use my name. Do not use my name. Or even better, if you don't want your name used, change the name through the whole story. What screen am I sharing? I'm not sharing any screen. I'm not right now. Yeah, some people said because they talk so much shit, they like reading. They like reading the story, so I put it up there. Is that I just try to not include the oh yeah, so listen, if you don't want your name read, but that's fine, if you don't want your name read, just tell me and I won't show the story on there, but leave it at the top. This person gave me a little PS at the bottom. You can use our names. I could use the street cred. So this is from John Trump. Evening, fellas. I got what I think is a pretty good ghost supernatural story for you. And listen, hold on, Andrew. I didn't believe in ghosts until last month when me and my wife were watching TV in the living room. Then all of a sudden, the high chair rolled 4 feet across the kitchen. If only there was some sort of call-in show that you could call in and share that encounter and that experience for everyone to hear. That would be incredible. Anyways, the lines are open. 1-833-703-0424. Calls take priority. So if you got a story, let's say paranormal or ghost story, that you can call in and share that. This is from John Trump. And again, if I've read this on the show, this is the hard thing I have. I read all these stories as they come in, so then I can't remember which ones I've read on the show. I have a system now where I'm moving them over to a different folder, but I didn't always. So if you've heard this story before, let me know. I'm still going to finish it for people who haven't heard it, but you can let me know. Evening, fellas. I got what I think is a pretty good ghost story, supernatural story for you. This all happened in, I want to say, 2005. I was a junior in high school, 16 years old. There were always stories about ghosts and all sorts of crazy stuff going on in this place in town called Highfield Hall. Highfield is a large house or mansion, if you will, on top of a huge hill and right in front of the entrance to what is called Beebe Woods, where I grew up in Falmouth, Massachusetts. That's how I said it, on Cape Cod. Way back when there was a family that owned the house and all the property surrounding. There were always stories about family members hanging themselves in the house, the father killing people, and the woods being haunted. One night, my buddy Braden had said to me and my buddy Nick that we should go up to the hall that night and see if anything weird happens. The mansion was being renovated, and you could get inside of it from climbing through this sketchy hole in the ground at the time. My friend Jason had gone inside the weekend before with some friends and swore that one of the toilets had flushed by itself, and all of a sudden, old classical music started blaring. I was skeptical, but I thought, what the hell, let's go check it out. But I was too much of a puss to let anybody talk me into going inside. It was probably around 10 p.m. when we arrived. Brendan, Nick, and myself walked around the front of the house towards the backyard. I had brought my shitty digital camera with me at the time and was hoping to maybe catch something that night. Once we go to the backyard, I was looking around and noticed in one of the windows on the second floor there was a question mark drawn in the window pane. It was if somebody had fogged up the window and drew it on there. I thought nothing of it. Maybe the construction team had done it earlier in the day. Not more than 10 minutes later, standing in the backyard, we heard, "Help me, help me," over and over again in the woods. Brendan said, "I told you this place is haunted." It lasted a good 15 minutes, and then we heard what sounded like a baby crying. I was about to crap my pants. There were also rumors about satanic worships that went on in the woods that I never believed, but now I wasn't sure what to believe. We all started to get freaked out and decided to leave. As we were leaving, I looked up into the window where I had seen the question mark. Only this time, there was another one. Either somebody was in the house or it was truly haunted. We all started to walk a bit faster, and as soon as we turned the corner, music started blaring from the basement. It was the old classical music my friend Jason had told us about. We went into full sprint. We were all pretty shook and drove past one of the local bars close by just to make sure we weren't hearing anything coming from there. Not more than 2 cars in the lot and nobody outside. I had told a few buddies about that night and they wanted to go see and hear the stuff for themselves. The next night we went back and they wanted to go into the woods. They had brought a brand new in the package flashlight and wanted to wander the darkness of the woods. Bad idea. I refused to join and watch them head in. They made it no more than 100 feet when I saw both flashlights die and they came running out screaming. Something was in there. I thought they were messing with me, but when I took both their flashlights, both were dead. Later that week, I had uploaded all the photos I had taken from the first time, and out of maybe 20, 3 or 4 of them had strange but perfect spheres floating in them. I wish I still had the photos to show you guys, but that was almost 15 years ago. To this day, the place creeps me out, and every once in a while, if you walk in the woods during the day, even in the summer, you will get that sudden rush of freezing cold air that hits you and sends chills down your spine. The place is haunted for sure. Hope you enjoyed VR John Trump. Thank you, John Trump. Great story of Highfield Hall. That's terrifying. I wonder if other people have been there. Anyone in the Massachusetts area heard that? You want to call in and, if you've heard the local folklore of this place, call in and let me know. 1-833-703. Your town got a spooky story? I think everyone's town has something creepy or has some weird story that that kind of floats around. The one here that comes to mind with that is there's a axe murder house on the Island Highway going south, just north of Comox Valley, and you can see this house. And apparently, the husband murdered his entire family in the house with a hatchet. And the grounds and area are supposedly haunted, and neighbors allegedly say it's haunted. But there's every town, every city, has those weird stories that you hear about. And if you want to share yours, you think your city or town has a unique story or urban legend, call in 1-833-703-0424. Let me know. Call it for the ad space. Hey, listen, Andrew, I get the same way. Listen, I get the same way. The second I call, like when I call the radio to try to win a prize or whatever, I feel like I'm gonna have a jammer. But listen, it's a cool show. That's a cool thing. You're not calling anyone special. You're just calling me. So get on here and let's talk about it. We'll have a cool little conversation about it. We'll walk through it. Hey, Brandon, listen, call in. I called way back about the ghosts I saw at my girlfriend's radio station back in Ontario, but I don't believe I told the story of the home I grew up in and the things my brother and my dad and myself saw when I was little. Call in. Let's go. Let's hear it. If this was early Cosmic Channel days, chances are I don't remember. So even if you did tell it, let's get a retell on. Put it to some cooler music. 1-833-703-0424. This is John Trump, number 12. 2 stories read. This is a skunk ape story here. Yeah, I think that's a universe. Like when people call, like talking on the phone, and I don't know why. For me, it's always been radio. Like when I call on the radio station, they're like, "Caller number 9." The second I hit dial and hit thing, it's like I'm just like, oh, I feel like all the blood's rushed out of my face, and when they pick up the phone, I'm like, oh. Anyways, let's riddle this person with anxiety. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, buddy, it's Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you today?
Hey, listen, it's not that bad calling it. It's not that bad. It's pretty easy.
No,
yeah, it's going pretty good, man. It's nice summer. I was doing some renos to my house all day. Get to come and hang out, do some Cosmic Channels, listen to some cool stories. What about you? How's your summer going?
That's not too bad. So yeah, it's okay. Not too bad.
Brandon, where are you from?
I was born in Edmonton, and when I called last, I was living in Ontario, but now I'm living in Calgary.
Live in Calgary. So are you Oilers fans still?
No, man.
All right, good. I'm glad you got over that.
Hell no, baby. Yeah, no, never really was.
Well, hey, Calgary's a lovely city. I've always liked it when I've traveled there. I always thought it was a very fun city to go and hang out.
Not too
in.
bad.
Which quadrant do you live in?
Northwest.
Northwest. Right on, man. What do you got for us tonight? Let's hear the story about your childhood home.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, I'll just, backstory. I don't know if this is 100% true. I never really looked into it further than what my mom told me. But I guess the house we grew up in was, used to be who originally bought the house was, I think, a judge and his wife. And I think the judge died in an accident. I don't know if it was a car accident. For some reason, from when I was a kid, I thought it was a plane accident or something, but it was just like a pretty tragic death of the judge himself. And I know that his wife ended up growing old and dying in the house by herself.
Okay.
So with that being said, my bedroom was his office. I had it had like a fireplace in the bedroom. It was a cool, older house.
And did he? So he was a judge when he passed away suddenly. Is that the story?
Yeah, like he was a judge,
Okay,
and
right.
I don't remember if it was a car accident or an airplane accident.
Okay.
But he died, and she just like stayed in the house until she died too. But growing up, my older brother, his bedroom was in the on the main floor of the house, kind of off the garage hallway, and he would wake up in the middle of the night constantly saying that he sees this dude in like this old timey kind of suit tie and like kind of top hat, but not like Slash from Guns N' Roses style top hat, but like an old
Yeah.
fancy man hat. My younger brother, I don't know, he says he saw something like that as well. And one night I woke up and I never saw this shadowy tuxedo wearing guy that my brothers claimed they both saw. And my older brother said like he saw him like multiple times, and like he still talks about it every now and then when like we get together and have beers and shit around the fire. But one night I woke up and like I said, my bedroom was his office apparently. But I just woke up in the middle of the night one night, and there was at my closet a little old woman with like a stack of clothing that she was putting into my closet, it looked like. I shot out of bed and just looked it for the door. And as I turned around to look back at her, because it didn't look like my mom, and it certainly didn't look like my dad, it looked into her eyes, and it was like two LED white lights for eyeballs. And like when I think about it or talk about it, like I still kind of get those like the goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because it was just such a scary thing to see. I was maybe 11, 12 years old when that happened. And I know for a fact it wasn't like a sleep paralysis or anything like that, because I was up and out of my bed. And so when I saw that, it took me a while to get back to sleeping into my own bed. And I never really saw anything else like that afterwards. But I'd say maybe 3 years later, my parents ended up getting a divorce, and my mom and my brothers and we left the house, and my dad stayed there by himself. He still, to this day, says that he would constantly wake up in the middle of the night to hear like footsteps coming up to the upstairs, where like my bedroom was and his bedroom is, and he would constantly see shadows in the hallways. And one night he said he was watching TV in the basement, and he saw this tuxedo wearing top hat guy out of the corner of his eyes. And yeah, I don't know. That's the story. But
It's
dirty old haunted house.
There's two things I want, because I'm like, it's the interesting thing is I'm like, okay, with a judge who dies suddenly and like you live in his office or you now live in the house, you kind of think that like if he passed away suddenly, like their job, I mean, they're weighing judgment, they're deciding, you know, custody of children, you know, fates of people's lives. You know, it is a pretty heavy job. So someone that just dies suddenly like that, I wonder if that's the reason why he hangs around the house in kind of his office, is he's like, he had unfinished business and these things were weighing on him, and it's like unfinished work that he felt that he needed to finish, right? Like cases.
And I never even thought of it like that. Yeah, like,
right?
yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
And he dies suddenly, and it's Duchess Doobie says it, heavy is the head that wears the crown, and this person is like passing judgment, and it's just, you know, all this is weight on them, because I mean, I imagine, you know, you're sentencing someone to prison and taking away their liberty, like, I mean, you got to really, you know, you're probably putting a lot into that emotionally and mentally, and then to just die all of a sudden, like maybe there was a case he was thinking about, right? That like he knew something and he wouldn't, you know, he was worried that it wouldn't get dealt with. It's kind of interesting. The other thing that kind of if you look at, because I kind of wonder if he was, because they said it was like old timey, like kind of tuxedo stuff. Barrister clothing, is that what it robes? No, barrister robes. Because in Canada, in the Supreme Court, they still wear like the old timey like robes, like special robes with like the tabs, and it looks really old timey. I'm trying to find a picture.
Well, that's the thing. Like he would say, like when we were kids, like, oh, he was wearing a trench coat. He was wearing a trench coat.
See,
But then as we got older, we were thinking about it. We're like, don't they wear like a long kind of?
Yeah, I'll show you. I'll if I can find it. Give me 1 second here. I'll try to. Here we go. Let me pull this up. Like they wear this.
Here, let me just get back on the screen here. I have it on my phone.
So they wear stuff like this here, showing off here. Boom. They wear stuff like this, right? And the judge is kind of long and flowing too.
Right.
Right. So it's like when you say old timey tuxedo, like, you know, in my head I go like, yeah, maybe. Like maybe that's but maybe what you're seeing is him dressed in his Supreme Court like judge's outfit.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Anyways, but like, yeah, you see they're like long and flowy. It's really interesting. And then the wife kind of like hanging around too. It makes me wonder if that just like she, you know, how long did this go on? Did it subside?
Well, I stayed there till I was about 13 years old, and it happened mostly with my older brother, like with him seeing what we just call the judge now, and my younger brother every now and then, but it was mostly with my older brother seeing like the guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one night where I woke up and I saw, like, to me, I think I saw his wife putting his stuff away in my closet. That's what it looked like to me. Like yeah, I don't know. It was
no,
it was very unsettling.
I'm gonna warm your heart a little bit with my theory. So the wife passes away in the house, right? When she passes on, she finds he's still there, right? Like he hasn't moved on because he's been holding on to his work or whatever it is, right? And so she hung around the house, helping him move on to wherever you go after, right? So like maybe she that's why you saw her, like she was just doing her normal stuff in another realm, like in the spirit realm, as she's hanging around with her husband, trying to get him to move on from this plane of existence. That's kind of my theory on it. Anyways, but
well, that makes sense, man. It was weird. It was cool though.
But pull up some next time you see your dad or your brother or people who sat, pull up some of those like Supreme Court like gowns and just be like, this like a tuxedo, or is it like this? Like when you say trench coat, because I'm like, I could see maybe thinking like in your head like, oh, trench coat or something, because you don't see them unless you're in Supreme Court. Like unless you go to the Supreme Court and you're sitting in there, you'd be like, why is everyone dressed up in costumes? Like what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
So let me know. Show them that, and then reach back out and let me know. I'm just kind of curious if we can chalk that up to the judge.
I'll definitely do that, man. I'm going to see my my older brother next weekend, so I'm definitely gonna pull that up, because like you said, like the Supreme Court thing, like he kept saying like as a kid, like, oh, it's a trench coat, but I don't think he knew what a judge actually wore. So if that's what it is, and he notices, like he recognizes that shit. Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Well, let me know. I'm curious. I'm curious to find out.
Absolutely, brother.
All right, man. Take care.
You too, bro.
All right. Bye. Hey, see, look, smash that story out of the park, Brandon. No need to have anxiety. All good. Easy peasy. Awesome story. I'm really intrigued now to find out if that was in case, like if that's what they were seeing, a judge in his robes. Lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. Take one or two more calls. I got one story left I'll read. This is... oh, never mind. Call Call on the line. Call take priority. Cosmic Channels, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Andrew Hutchinson from Edmonton, Alberta.
Hey, Andrew, what's going on? Sorry, I was just trashing Edmonton for the call before. Love me some Edmonton.
I live here. It's warranted.
I used to live in Fort St. John. I called it Little Edmonton. Looks the exact same, just a quarter the size. But, you know, listen, you got a great mall, phenomenal mall. The water park, chef kiss in there. Great
No
times.
way. It has roaches and gives you HPV on the feet.
Does it?
Well, it used to. They cleaned it. They had it sanitized.
I was going to say, is that what's wrong with my toes from the West Edmonton trips? I used to go there. Like, there would be a trip from Kelowna, like, every year with a youth group. And it was basically just a weekend trip to go to the water park. You would leave Friday. You would get to West Edmonton Mall, like, middle of the night. You'd sleep in, like, we used to sleep on, like, a church or something. I can't remember. And then you go to the, like, all day you'd spend at West Edmonton Mall. All day. Water park, rides, and then Sunday morning you drive back. And it was such a fun time. But I always had good times at the water park. What do you got for us tonight?
Well, like I said in the chat, I never really believed in ghosts or anything. Like, there's odd things that's happened throughout life, but just last month, me and the wife were just watching Disney Plus or something in the living room, and just through the corner of my eye, I start to see our kid's high chair just start rolling, and it rolled 4 feet, and I looked at my wife, and I'm like, did you see that? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to ignore it. And then she just stared dead ahead, and I was like, wow, that was really weird.
What a power move. Yeah, nope.
Yeah, poltergeist, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you subscribe to that, like, when you pay attention to these things, you give them power, right? I mean, that would be a good defense if you're just like, I saw it, and I choose to ignore its existence. That's good.
But that event happening got me thinking. So before, like maybe 2 months before that event, I was in my basement, and then my kid called me, so I went running upstairs, and I got a bunch of posters and stuff down my hallway in the basement. And one of the posters flapped when I turned around up the stairs, and I turned around and looked at it, and I seen it kind of flapping a bit. I was like, oh, okay, this is probably from, like, wind pressure. And I got to the top of the stairs, and something told me just go back down and do it again. And I ran through that thing a whole bunch more times, and I couldn't get the poster to move. And I was like, oh, well, it must have been just the right conditions and stuff. And then a couple days later, I'm just walking up the stairs, poster moved again. Again, maybe it's the air vents. I just dismiss.
Yeah.
And I was just like, but after I seen the stroller move, it's like my brain started connecting things. Like one time I put a cup on the counter in this house, and I watched it slide 3 inches. And I was like, what the hell? It's not sloped, it's perfectly level, but who knows, right? I was like, you just took out the dishwasher. Maybe there's some physics about heat, but
in my head, I was like, you know, sometimes when you have a cup and it's got a little bit of water on the bottom, and you put it down, kind of like that surface tension, it just kind of like rolls on the water a little bit. But you would see that, you would have that happen like all the time. Like you would see that.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah, that's very strange. What's the people want to know what's the poster of?
Oh, it's actually a Deadpool poster. Hold on, let me go look at it so I can describe it better. It's a Deadpool poster riding on a unicorn, flying over top of a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex that is spewing out cats and dogs from its mouth.
Yeah, perfect Deadpool poster. No, it's kind of interesting because it does sound like you have something there that's, you know, trying to get your attention.
Well, there's one more thing, and I honestly wasn't going to call, but the last caller said something. It kind of like changed at the end to like that judge.
Yeah.
But he said, like the man in black. There was another time, like I used to have sleep paralysis and night terrors, so I usually write off anything from sleep because the brain's kind of a funny thing.
Yeah.
But I was napping in the basement, woke up, and then I was playing a game called Torn on my phone, and in my peripherals, I could kind of, it looked like maybe my wife was standing at the far end of the hallway, but I was, whatever, I'm going to ignore you and keep playing. I'm doing something right now, lady. And then it no longer looked like my wife. It was clearly a shadowy man with a bowler hat on, and as soon as I brought my eyes up, it was gone. Like, when I went to look outside of the peripherals, disappeared. But I was like,
brother,
maybe shadows. It's like, I just woke up. Like,
that's Lou Bega. All the way away. Lou Bega himself, the Hat Man. He's in your house.
Yes, I remember podcasts about you guys talking about the Hat Man. And then when the last caller said something, it clicked something in my head. I was like, maybe this guy's fucking with me.
You brother, you almost became a lyric in Mambo No. 6. if you're not careful. It's gonna be a little bit of Andrew.
Yeah, there's a whole, like, I lived in a other house before too, and it's where I actually, like my teenage house where I grew up on the north side of Edmonton, and it's where I started having sleep paralysis when I started sleeping in the basement of that house. I used to wake up feeling like that weird scared feeling. I can't move, I can't scream, and I would either get a weight on my chest or a weight on my legs, but what would feel like 15 minutes, it would go away. Didn't think much of it because I just, I'm a high anxiety type of person. But my buddy got kicked out of his house when he was a kid, and he was staying with me, and he experienced the same thing in my basement.
Oh.
My mindset for the longest time was he's just mimicking me, copying me, maybe like, trying to be similar. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But ever since that stroller moved, my brain is fired in different ways.
Yeah, you're just like, you're thinking it's like, are these things connected? Is there something here that's trying to make contact? I mean, listen, it's tough because you're like, it's one of those things where you're like, when you have something like this happen, like for me, like, because I grew up in a haunted house, my parents' house was haunted, stuff would happen and you'd be kind of like super creeped out and like, you're like, ugh, I don't like. But then in the back of your head later, you're like, I want it to happen again because I want to experience it again. Like, was I crazy? Like, was it something else that I just like misinterpreted? So you get this like kind of dual emotion of being like, I want it to happen again. But then it happens, you're like, I don't want it to happen anymore.
Oh yeah, totally mixed feeling. I think I want it to happen again so I can have concrete proof. Like if I could get video of it, it would be so good. But like, I think if I see it again, I'd probably shit myself.
It's funny because my parents always dismiss, like when me and my brother would tell them, like, yeah, you guys' house, and they still live there. Like, your house is, something's there. Like, it's weird. Something's there. And my parents would always dismiss it. They're like, no, you guys are kids. And I'm like, no, like I've gone there as an adult and had not fun times. And they have renters, and the renters called them while they were visiting me, and they're like, is there someone upstairs? And I'm like, see, I told you. There's someone walking around up there. It's the freakiest shit ever. The house is haunted.
That's wild.
But hey, Andrew, thank you so much for calling. Keep your eyes peeled. Like, looking for signs. I mean, you can also look up, there's probably different ways if this thing starts to, as it starts to feed on your attention and stuff, if it gets bolder and stuff, fucking smudge it, buddy. Get it out of there. Unless it's attached to some sort of object in the house, right? Like you might have to go through and did you go into start thinking back to any flea markets or antiques you bought once this started happening? Is there something new in the house? Sense of stuff, you're gonna have to start putting your mind to that because you might, if you want this thing gone. I mean, if it's something attached to something.
I'll have to start deep diving.
Yeah.
All right, well, you continue on the show. You have a good night, brother.
Hey, keep me posted on what's happening. Take care of yourself.
Will do. Okay,
bye. Awesome. Listen, beginnings of a poltergeist sounds like to be. Careful with that. I always think that they start small they feed on that attention, right? And that attention either gives them power or makes them more bold. Lines are open, 1-833-703-0424. I'm going to read this quick. No calls. Okay, I'm going to close the lines, but I'm going to read one last story because I had it open and I already moved it. Lines are closed. Thank you so much for calling in, everybody who called in. This is Skunk Ape story. All right. I think you can show this one off. My name is Chelsea. I've always been a big cryptid fan, but I am one who doesn't believe something is real until I witness it firsthand. When I was 14, my family went on vacation to visit my aunt. She lived in Tavares, Florida. It was a very rich neighborhood, but surrounded by swamps and orange groves. We were staying in a travel trailer she had on the property. That night, my whole family and I heard something huge stomping through the yard. There was no way it could have been a person. I was frozen in fear and could not move. Then it started screaming. This was like nothing I had ever heard in my life. It was very primitive, but high-pitched like a woman. It continued for what seemed like an hour. An hour. I don't remember when I finally fell asleep, but I probably did out of shock. The next morning, we all met in my aunt's house in her kitchen. Everyone was pale and silent. Even the men looked terrified. We talked about it, and everyone heard the same thing and knew it was something huge and unusual. I later went online and listened to some alleged Bigfoot screams and found one that matched exactly what we all heard. Also, my aunt mentioned that something had been going into the orange groves and had been perfectly peeling hundreds of oranges and eating them. Also, the dogs seem to go crazy sometimes, and they stare at the woods, and crashing could be heard. I'm not saying this was for sure Bigfoot, since I was too scared to look, but I remember everything vividly, and I believe it could have been, and I can't think of anything else it would be. Thank you for letting me share my story, Chelsea. Absolutely terrifying stuff there. The thing I always think about when I hear skunk ape stories, especially from Florida, is ever since we found out that, like, you know, they're testing chimps, and then they released the chimps into the swamps. That's a true story. They did that. So there's swamp chimps roaming around. Could that account for the screaming? Maybe. But the thing is the stomping, right? You hear something moving around in that big lumbersome steps, especially outside. You know, would a chimp be? Chimp would probably be more quiet, I think. So it's, you know, it's hard to gauge. What was that? Someone said, what was that black flash on the camera? Mine? There's a black flash? Oh, you know what it is? It's a black rectangle. Every 10 minutes, little ad pops up to just follow on Cosmic Channels, YouTube, Facebook, or on socials. And then 5 minutes later, it resets. And when it resets, it does a black rectangle. If that's what it is, don't send me anything if it's not that. I don't want to see it. I'm going to be like Andrew's wife. Nope, not here. Didn't happen. Anyways, that's it for Cosmic Channels Summer Session 4. I will see you guys next week for... Oh, it's in Discord already? Okay, let's see. Hopefully it's just... Which chat? Cosmic Channels? What am I looking at here?
Yeah, there's a whole lot.
Oh, the black flash. Okay, yeah. That's nothing. That's just the ad resetting itself. I don't know. There's no black screen on it. It just glitches that out when it resets itself to set the 10-minute timer again. Thank God. I was a little bit worried. Like, am I gonna have to move? Thank you everyone for supporting Cosmic Channels. Go and check it out. We're at 2150 hours. We only have 950 hours left till we can monetize that YouTube channel. Start taking super chat donations. You want to donate to the show? You guys know how to do it. Use the link before. I got to think of if I'm gonna put a barcode or something up. Did people use that? Was that easy, or did you just use the links? Is that better? I don't know. Ulissa. That's an old bit, but yeah, you know, Ulissa, you supported the show. Thank you so much, Ulissa, for always supporting the show. 850. My math is terrible. We got 850 hours left until we can monetize that YouTube channel. But if you want to support the show, we're saving up money for those 2025 bills. We're at, it says 188, but we're really at 680.99, and we have that because we were saving up for UK line. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the best option, and we were saving up for some ads that haven't been spent, so I've just kind of been holding it all in there, and we can determine closer to season 9 what we want to do with it. Thank you everyone for supporting the show, and make sure to tell your friends to call in and share their spooky stories. That's it for Cosmic Channels. See you all next week.